get through this.
Easy for listening. I wasn't able to do it.
Easy for dancing.
I'm not a great lover of cats. That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Not me. That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Have Your Say, one-on-one shadow boxing. Today at WTV Studios, my guest is Al Wade, who is a citizen like all of us, you sitting at home and me, and Al, who's got problems with the Australian legal system, in particular in WA. Al, how can we have a problem with the legal system in a full democratic country, one of the best in Southeast Asia, or the only best in Southeast Asia, and we got legal problem. How can we have legal problems in this country?
Well, that stems from legislation. There's separation of power between government and the courts itself. Now, with that separation, the court in itself runs its own inquiries to any misconduct or what rules and laws should be changed.
Okay, go back to the first point of yours, Al, separation between court and government. Have we got that separation clearly?
Yes, we have the separation clearly.
Okay, so we got that separation, so they're not lying. So the problem still exists. How the problem get into? Apart from the survey, the World Survey in 2012, which said Australia is lagging behind other countries with the legal system and is not really good. And in that survey they said we are the 50th with sophisticated legal systems in the world, and we're definitely behind Libya and Egypt. Remind you, that was before the Arab Springs. I think the White House got this report and Obama was reading it and said, guys, we have to do something about that. And they just looked at the first 50. They didn't look under the line of the 50th and underneath, which we are. So they just spotted Libya and Egypt, and they said, okay, we have to have an Arab Spring and change those regimes. And they did it. They left out Australia. I don't know why. They didn't change our system. And we not have a spring in here with weapons and revolution.
Well, that's correct. One, because we're the tail that wags on the American dog, and two, we're sheeple.
Okay.
We live in an affluent society. We don't have, marches and that. We don't stand up. We're not aware of the judicial process. The public isn't made aware of the judicial process. If you want to make a complaint, no one. It's not posted. The judicial complaints against judiciary paper, discussion paper in 102, which was tabled by Martin Wright.
Martin is the Chief Justice of
Chief Justice
WA
Manager.
currently.
He was the one that initiated it, and yet nothing's been done about it. There was one story in the West Australian, and it was the size of a post-it note. So I contacted that reporter,
Yes.
and I kept on asking her, okay, are you going to follow it up? Just kept on ignoring me. Oh, she said, I wrote an article. No, you wrote a post-it note and you put it in the West Australian.
About this survey is happened by Chief Justice Martin.
Yeah.
But not what's in the survey, what are the recommendations, no comments in the press.
Yes,
about that.
Well, you do get comments and you get the same lip service by politicians and that say they will do reforms. But these reforms that they're asking for, which I'll talk about later, I mean, we can have the Colin Barnett foreshore, we can have the Colin Barnett footy oval for $1 billion, but we can't
That's
have...
That's not $1 billion, that's two.
Well, $2 billion, but we can't have a system we can't have a system that's built outside to separate between the one and the two, the courts and the office. In other words, there's no policing, no accountability and liability.
And no transparency,
And no transparency. But in the eastern states, we are the wild, wild west. In 1985, they made reforms in New South Wales. We're talking about federation since 1902, and our legislative laws run before that of separations of power between state and government.
But we just established, we got separation of power between states.
We do that, yes.
Yeah, and the judicial system.
Yeah, but...
But what's not working then, according to Martin's report?
Well, what they found in that report is anything to do, like if you want to make a complaint about a judicial officer, now let's put it that perspective.
Yes.
Out of 102 years, we've never had one sacked. Yet, what they do is they...
Which proves one thing in the West Australia. Our judges and whoever works at the courts, they are super duper perfect people.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, of course it does.
That's one way to look at it.
Because they're inhuman and they're super beings, yeah.
But they are
There's
not, they are superhumans, like Superman and Superwoman. So that's why we don't have any complaint against them. Is
That's
it not
right.
possible?
Well, due to the way it's set up, people that are on the judicial side, if you make a complaint about a Supreme Court judge or a magistrate, it goes to the Judiciary Committee. But
Yes.
guess what? They all sit on the committee or the same tribunal. Or if it goes to the Chief Justice Office, well, you send in your complaint, fully loaded, you know, be it from the Mosman Park jeweller thing, spent 15 years in jail, nothing happened. It took so long for that poor guy. It goes to the Chief Justice Magistrate's Office. You get a letter back, just a letter saying, I've looked at it, I'm not going to take it any further. While he's also talking to the same judge, I'm going to see you next weekend for a round of golf, say good day to the wife for us. So you get that letter, there is no transparency. It's the irony of a legal system, a court system, where you're supposed to have your right of say, to be heard, to have a witness, or to present the facts. But you just get a letter back saying, no, don't contact us again. Or if they do go to the next step, they contact the judicial person that you're having a go at, and then they get a letter, and then that judicial person and the chief magistrate, they will have a conversation where you're not there, and then he will make that decision and send you a letter saying, I've had a conversation with him.
And
No more,
everything
no
is
more.
all right.
No more. So that's where there's no transparency. And with what it does is
Yes.
immunity. Total immunity. Impunity. If you give man total power, they'll lack with total impunity. That's what the eastern states, and that's what the English and Wales, in their ramification, in their retrospect of what they did in the last 40 years, was changed everything. So we have these systems, even in our own country, where it's guidelines saying, well, this is what's screwed up, this is not right, and this is why it's not right. And yet Western Australia, for the last, since 1985, hadn't done a damn thing.
But you mentioned the Chief Justice and the discussion by him with one of the judges if you make a complaint. That's always almost theoretical, but anyway, use that theory. They got the discussions and everything is hunky-dory. However, on the other hand, the Chief Justice made this report and made suggestions how to change, and nothing is happening.
And
so therefore, the Chief Justice somehow aware of the fact of lack of transparency, lack of accountability, and lack of opportunity to make a real complaint.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
Well, that comes with a lot of pressure. You know, there are groups out there like the Law Society. They
Yes.
get a lot of complaints.
And what do they do with the complaint? What they receive?
Well, that's when they file, and then they make a motion, or they send a letter to the Chief Justice. They make efforts to the Attorney General's office to say, hey, listen, this is getting out of control. And that's when finally the Chief Justice will stand up. It had been building up for a long time. There has been multiple complaints. Just on the paper itself, it lists. So that's where the initiation comes from. But it does come from people, groups, organisations, the Law Society, other groups. Some are not even mentioned on that paper, that have to ask the questions and push it. Why? Because it's a strain on them. They see where, okay, when you're talking about criminal law, you go people, it destroys their lives, 15 years in jail. When a decision goes the wrong way in a civil matter, that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars for nothing. And then you've got to go to the appeals court.
Which is more expensive.
More expensive. Now check out this. So you go to the appeals court and you get that decision turned over by that Supreme Court judge. The appeals court has no right within itself or anyone else in that to make any recommendations or complaints to the Chief Justice.
So, Al, we go back to that report, what you just mentioned at the beginning. Who's made that report? To whom?
Well, on the 30th of May 2011, the Attorney General of Western Australia formally referred to the Law Reform Commission, the matter concerning complaints against members of the state jury. The terms of reference are as follows. Just as what you were asking, that very important question, why are we ranked 50th? This thing is about accountability. It doesn't say into this document, or their findings, what they do for this paper,
Yes.
project's paper, is about liability, because if you're held liable, accountability. What puts us into 50 is one point. When you do an appeal, or you contest, or you make a complaint, now remember, a judge can send people to jail for 15 years for murders they don't commit and do 3 of them in a year. It's not the judge that gets tested. It's not the judge they're looking at. It's the decision at the appeals court want to see. They'll overturn the decision. So that's why you'll see in the papers and everything, oh, the police, oh, what a horrible job they did. Oh, they withheld evidence and everything. Who's driving the car? Sitting on the bench. The accountability is not where it should be. They act with total immunity and total impunity, and that's where we get our number 50 from. It's not to the judges, but just to their decisions. There is no oversight. There is no, there's no monthly meeting to say, hey, let's see how this guy's going.
So
We
no
don't have that.
supervision of
No
the
supervision.
judges as such,
The-
or their judgments, and no.
Yeah, without a committee that does handle judicial complaints,
Yes.
we can't see into why that decision was made. How was it? I mean, we've had, I think, just 2011 or something like that, a solicitor was berated so badly she committed suicide. The findings into that, the judge acted, it was no problem. Well, was that published in the paper? It was a very small thing. So that's basically where we're getting our number 50 out of. In the eastern states, New South Wales Prime Limited is doing really well. I mean, since 1902, we've had no dismissals, no court cases, no people getting the sack or set down. In New South Wales, in just the last 4 years, there's been people who stood down, quit. The report puts onto, they've got 4 or 5 times as many people as we do.
So, is it true they got 5 times more judges in the system and
Well, the
magistrates?
numbers do come up here. I'll just do on this one just for a quick thing. Just for ourselves, like that, it breaks down when you're doing complaints or you want a concern about how the system's actually working.
Yes.
It breaks down into categories, and there's only 3 really main categories. One is general trivia, which is basically ordinary complaints. Oh, I wasn't happy with the decision. He spoke to me badly. He swore. You didn't like the way he called you a filthy pedophile, and you deserve to be locked up forever. Those ordinary ones. And then you've got the behavioural issues, which is basically A and B are put together. And then when you've got criminal misconduct, misbehaviour and incapacity, I mean, we've had judges that have been in the paper that have fallen asleep at trials. And then you've got the total complaints. So 2009, there was 40 ordinary complaints, several behavioural issues, criminal misconduct, none, misbehaviour or incapacity, 0. Total complaints for that year was 47 from WA. 2009, 2010 was 33 all up, but still no misconduct, no stuff. Why?
Because our judges not misbehaving and not making misconduct. They are professionals.
Well, other states do. Other judges and magistrates have falsified documents to get out of drink driving charges.
Yeah, but not in WA.
But not in WA.
On that note, we have to go for a short break. But please stay with us, because after the break, we're coming back with more with Al talking about the law reform which we may need in WA.